Mind mapping is one of these things that people really don't think about. Now, for me, it's actually one of the three tools that you need to start a project, right? First, start problem statement and objective. Second, do a SIPOC of the process under investigation. Third, mind map all the things you don't know. Okay, so what can you use a mind map for? That's what we're going to talk about and demonstrate that a little. One of the ways I use mind map, I use it every time I really want to start a project. So, first, problem statement objective, know where you're going, create a SIPOC of your process. SIPOC is a high-level process map, usually no more than 5 steps. It really is a very nice visual tool. It's something you can build with a team. I'm going to show you some. And so there's a central concept and then some sub-concepts you can see here, like when is a mind map used? Well, one of the key points is to learn. And then here's some details for that, to communicate, to make decisions, to generate ideas. Okay, here is what mind maps on the left look like in the wild. And on the right is here's what happens after they've been tamed and put into software. Here's an example of how you can solve a problem or do root cause analysis with a mind map. In this case, we had with the wrong nameplate. And you can see there were lots of reasons. Well, sometimes there's lack of demand, so they don't know how to build it. Operator didn't know the difference. Right? There were errors in some cases. And then we can drill down further into those potential root causes. So just think about this. If you were in a meeting, right? I'm sure you've been in meetings like this. Hey guys, we shipped some more units with the wrong faceplate. How can we stop that from happening? Let me think. And in the meeting, you might come up with 3 or 4 things. Yeah, hey, what Fred said, But by using a mind map, you see we've got 12, 15 different areas that we can investigate. So the likelihood that we've caught our potential root cause is much higher. So in this case, right, we're talking about those features, and these are all subpoints. You can see here in pink, I tried to put in some of the highlights. So subpoints are features, and another one's purpose. So in this case, the purpose of mind map could be to go deeper into root cause analysis. It's to get better ideas on a topic because people are playing off of each other and they're thinking not about the topic as a whole, but as pieces of it. So it's easier to think about. It's sort of like using the 6 M's for root cause analysis. If we said, hey, what's the cause of high defects? Then you're going to get 3 or 4 answers. If we said, what is it about equipment that leads to potential defects? You're going to get much deeper answers. And then, of course, there's 5 other areas of investigation using the 6 M's. So anyway, one purpose here, better ideas, but also brainstorming. I broke that down into lots of things. It could be root causes, but there's also issues. We could do project plans or goals. Hey, how are we going to know when this project's done? How are we going to measure success? Where are we going to get the data from? You can do all that stuff with a mind map because it lets you branch out further and further, and you can really see. What I love about a mind map is you really see the whole big picture. So what are some keys for mind mapping? One of them is that they're dependent on process knowledge. Okay, if you're trying to solve problems with an area or come up with a better method, you don't know what the issues are, then that's going to be a problem. So you need to know what it is you're talking about.
Something like how to engage our Lean Enterprise Division members.
Okay. So we'll call it member engagement. So what are some of the keys to member engagement, do you think, then?
Les Blandis is saying effective communication processes.
Okay, sure. So we'll say communication processes, but...
Jody is saying professional development.
Okay, sure. And that could take different forms, actually. Some of it could be content, or content could be elsewhere.
Maybe we could blow that out a little bit.
Content just sort of on its own? Yes.
And we could add education and training.
Education and training, would that be part of professional development?
These just the relevant resources. And then Cody is suggesting opportunities for feedback. That might come from the communication process.
Yeah, I think so, right. Okay. What else is important to members? I think that becomes the question. And different members have different ideas, but we're sort of going with majority rules or what major blocks of people think. If something else comes up, we'll just make room for it on the side and we'll just keep chugging along until we do. So
suggesting relationships.
there are some programs through ASQ like mentoring that I know a number of us have been a part of, and I found it to be incredibly satisfying.
Add that to relationships as a branch or something like that. And that Joe's under relevant resources, a vetting process for credibility. Yeah, and Margaret is saying under content, you could have method, and under that, in-person webinars, articles, etc. Do we have permission to put the same thing under multiple categories?
Sure. Or we might put it down once and then draw lines to indicate relationships. Like webinars certainly could fit here under professional development in my mind.
Yeah, that's what Les is saying.
Is just have a dotted line there that
says surveys could fit under the communication process.
Surveys, and that's one that we could talk about. I mean, we can do certainly in-program surveys.
Is giving somebody saying he's a little bit. I mean, there are other methods like focus groups and interviews.
Right. So new.
ADB has suggested we put recognition under professional development, and we could add awards too for the mayor. There's Tim is saying data analysis and prioritization. I think that's directly of member engagement, I would guess. Data analysis and prioritization. That's a huge category, isn't it? Patrick has suggested forums, blogs, or live chat events under either resources or communication. Method, because those sounds like forums, blogs, or live chat events could be under method for content, couldn't they?
Blogs, live content. So kind of like a podcast or...
Cody is asking what would the next step be from here? So I think you're talking about it, right?
Well, in this particular case, yes. Yes, because for the others, we've sort of turned over some rocks and seen what's interesting underneath. But with this one, I think that some sort of publication, so member highlights, and I'll put stars around the things that we can do that we need to figure out. Now, I'm thinking, I mean, we have a newsletter that we're putting back together, but member highlights, so that could be articles, that could be videos, or I don't know, is there any other content? I mean, just thinking like, hey, somebody published a cool article on LinkedIn, here's the link to it.
One of the gaps I see is people are not developing new lean leaders. There is a lot of lean tools. We're not talking about lean leadership. And I think that needs to be included. This map will help us as we go through,
I would certainly agree with that. So
yeah, it could be professional development, or you could make it into its own lane, because it's a pretty big topic of, going away from tools and making it more of a mindset.
So yeah, absolutely. That's a big one, Adil. Thank you for that. Especially if you're cutting back on training or, I think that some of the softer skills training is sort of not valued. It certainly is in lean organizations. And it's funny because I've seen presidents or owners of 250 person organizations saying, I don't like the attitude that I see, but I don't know how to change it. And I'm thinking to myself, sometimes I'm saying it to them, well, you're the owner. You're the person who can change it. We're talking about lean versus Six Sigma. We talk about eliminating waste. We talk about reducing variability. Now, I could go through the entire list. I'm not going to, but here's what I will tell you. A data focus. So people ask me pretty regularly some version of this question. Manny, is this a lean project or a Six Sigma project? And I'll look at them and I say, well, look, folks, here's the way I look at it. If you know what lean tool to apply where to solve your problem, then go ahead and do it. This is what I call the see a snake, kill a snake principle, right? We don't need to study the snake or see how big it is. If we know where the problem is and how to fix it, then just go ahead and do it. That's a lean project. Okay. And lean projects use PDCA versus DMAIC over here. So, and I think we can agree, right, that do is the same as improve. So here's what I tell folks. If you know what lean tool to use to solve your problem, go ahead and do it. If you don't, then use the define, measure, analyze front end of DMAIC to let you know what lean tool to use in the improve phase. And every Six Sigma project turns into a lean project in the improve phase. So if you take a look at this, I think it's pretty interesting because to keep it real simple, right? Deming said plan. Where in the Six Sigma world, we say define, measure, analyze. Where we say control, he said check, act. And so I think this is pretty interesting because Deming developed PDCA when management had a habit of throwing solutions over the wall and then charging off to the next spot of the battle. So, he said, go ahead, plan the work, do it, check on the results, and then act on what you've learned. And it was his idea that this was a cycle that would continue until you achieved what you planned for. Whereas in the Six Sigma world, we don't want to start a project unless we're very certain about what's going on and can we measure and do we have a handle on our root causes. Okay, so we spend a lot of time up front getting things right. But here's what I'm thinking, knowing what we know today, why can't we combine these? Why can't we do a better job of planning to include these three pieces and then go through, do, check, and act? All right, folks, thank you. Hey, listen, we know you could have done a lot of things with your time this past hour. We appreciate you spending it with us. So go be safe and have fun during this holiday season. Enjoy. Frank, thank you for your help.
Thanks, Manny. Good job. Thanks,
Okay.
everyone.